All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. On this Saturday morning, welcome to the Fresh Start Show with Dr. Holt. We are excited to be with you on this weekend. We are expecting a powerful time and a powerful moment in our episode on today, and we're just excited. So, again, thank you for joining us here on the Fresh Start Show. And we always say, hey, go get your coffee and go get your tea and your mocha latte and everything else you want because it's the Fresh Start Show with Dr. Holt. We are here. Get your cream of wheat and your oatmeal, your Fruit Loops, Apple Jacks, Captain Crunch, whatever's your favorite. Get some nice cold milk and let's get ready to eat and sip on some coffee and have a powerful discussion again with Fresh Start with Dr. Holt. So we are a show that specifically address issues in our justice system, as far as justice reform, mental health, and we also spend a big time dealing with the struggles of people who have been formerly incarcerated. I am the founder of the Fresh Start International organization, and I am the brainchild and visionary of the Fresh Start Expo that we have for formerly incarcerated individuals, the one-stop shop for the formerly incarcerated at the Tucson Convention Center. And I'm the radio host of Fresh Start with Dr. Holt, which you are experiencing on today. And so our vision is to help individuals get back on their feet. And our vision and mission for Fresh Start is where everyone deserves a new beginning. And so let's go. Let's get it. I hope you're excited for this powerful moment in this radio show. There's none like us. We are unique in Arizona. There's no show that deals with the issues that we deal with specifically, especially with dealing with people who've been formerly incarcerated, who's been in jail, who's been in prison, and having a show that speaks into that struggle and having a show that also speaks truth to power in regards to reform and reform on policy, reform on with legislation and all of that. That's what Fresh Start is all about. And if you have made some bad choices in your past, we're here as a Fresh Start here to get you back on your feet. So again, thank you for joining us. We're looking for a great time on today. And so I have a guest that's going to join us on today on the Fresh Start Show. I had a pleasure meeting this brother on last year. He's also worked with me with the Fresh Start organization and with our event to help people who've been formerly incarcerated. I listened to his story. He had a history of being incarcerated for many years, and he understands the real struggle of what it's like coming out of prison, not being limited on resources or having no resources and trying to get back on your feet. And so I'm thankful that he had the time to come and join us on today. And so, Tom, are you with us on today?
I am. I'm sitting here waiting on you and just anxious with expectations for what we're going to discuss.
All right. Awesome, man. Thank you so kindly for joining Fresh Start on today. Again, this is a radio show that addresses justice reform, the need for reform, the need for bail reform, and reform on every level, and how we can do better on making sure that when people pay their debt to society, being incarcerated, that they don't have to spend the rest of their life because of a background issue or having a felony in their background, where it's hard to get housing, it's hard to get a job. And I don't have to tell you, Tom, you've lived it, you understand it. And so, again, welcome to the show, man. And feel free to introduce yourself and let Radio Land know more about you.
Amen. My name is Thomas Cortese. I am the Social Service Domain Director at For Tucson. I had the wonderful opportunity last year to be assigned to be on the planning committee for the Fresh Start. It was near and dear to my heart because I am an individual who has done 28 plus years in the Arizona State prison system. So when given the opportunity to be part of Fresh Start, it was just a no-brainer that I would do everything I could to help.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you. You most definitely was dear to my heart. I want to thank you personally for connecting with my vision and helping me bring bring to birth the Fresh Start Expo, where we were able to help so many people in our city. And I'm still getting positive reviews, even from the mayor's office and from uh, judges and from our county attorney, that it was very successful and things of that nature. So let's get a little deeper, to know more about you. So we know that, like I said, you spent 28 years incarceration. Can you talk a little bit more into that, your experience being in prison and the duration of almost 30 years? And that's a lot of time on your lifespan. And can you talk a little bit into that?
Sure. When I was 21 years old, here in Tucson, Arizona, I had a drug and alcohol problem. A great deal of trauma in my youth, addictions, and it culminated in basically a suicide by cop attempt, that I was prolonging the agony. I had gone from an elite athlete down to 120 pounds, bleeding through every orifice in my body, dying from cocaine and alcohol and drug use. And I had a gunfight with Tucson Police Department, and they shot me twice. And I was taken to St. Joseph's Hospital, where I died on the table. And when I came out of it, I was paralyzed from the waist down, looking at the rest of my life in prison. So I went to prison with a much greater sentence than I eventually served, because of the court system overturning consecutive sentences for me. So on that sentence, I served 17 years in all different units throughout the state, and then was released in 2000, at which time 2000 released from a prison system that in no way prepared me for what I was about to face after doing 17 years in prison. I mean, 17 years, you have a sapling, and 17 years later, you have a tree. So everything I knew had grown and become very, very different. And I was still a person from 1984 entering a world in the year 2000. So it was very difficult for me, and there was nothing in the parole division, there was nothing in Tucson that made any part of that release easy. It was an uphill struggle the whole way. I eventually started my own business because it was much too difficult to work for people, being on paper, on parole, having people come to your job, all of those things. And eventually I got very, very ill again, and eventually got very sick by using drugs after a very long stay in the hospital, 3 months. And I ended up going back to prison for a shoplifting conviction that I actually made it into a police chase, and so much greater than it would have been otherwise. But because the addiction had a grip on me, and being sick was not an alternative, I screwed up again.
Well, you
And
speak.
I
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the issue with substance abuse and mental health, because I think that's a big point, because we have a lot of people who sits in our county jail or in state or federal penitentiary that have substance abuse issues and mental health issues, and it appears that some of that was a big contributor, some of your choices and decision makings. And I think a lot of times people don't put into account, what does trauma, mental health, and substance abuse play in the role in the justice system. Can you just talk a little bit more about that piece, about because what happens is a lot of people don't get the support they need. For example, if you have mental health or issues, perhaps you need to be, at a hospital or at a center getting the mental health support you need, or for you have substance abuse issues or addiction issues, perhaps you should be somewhere in a rehab getting detox and getting this supportive substance abuse support that you need. So could you talk a little bit more into that?
Certainly. I would venture to say 50% of the prison population could be put in an alternative placement that is not prison, which would be so much more beneficial to them.
Yeah.
I mean, I went through these traumas as a young child, and for me, going through these traumas, they were periods of time which retarded or stunted my emotional growth. So as I got older, I was working with an emotional development that was that of a child and not an adult.
Yeah.
So a child reacts to things differently and throws tantrums, and as an adult, you're really not supposed to be doing that, and it can end up really bad, which it did. And so, yes, I mean, the prison system is filled with people that, I mean, upwards, I would say in the greater 70 percentile is mental health issues or co-occurring disorders that, because, I mean, I was in prison for over 28 years.
Right.
I have literally heard over thousands of stories from individuals that have been in the prison system and have gone through these traumas, have gone through these addictions. And you know, if there's no help there then, and there's not going to be help there after, and when you get into the system, you're going to be the same person that you started as, unless that eventually gets dealt with.
Wow. So after completing your sentence, and it's about time for you to be released into society. The other issue we have outside of, issues such as addiction, substance abuse, mental health issues, and things of that nature, is now you're getting ready to be released back into the community and re-enter society. And I always joke at this when we call our prison systems the Department of Corrections. And I always say, well, what are you correcting? It's more like a Department of Punishment than it is Department of Correction. Instead of rehabilitating, instead of promoting rehabilitations and restoration, we push so much on, being super tough on crime and things of that nature without being more restorative. And I like to think of Fresh Start organization as also a restorative justice, restorative approach type of an organization. With that being said, you're ready now to come into the community. You paid your debt to society. But Tom, as well as I know, it's not that easy to say I completed my sentence, because if it was that easy, we wouldn't have need organizations like Fresh Start. It's not like after you pay your debt to society that they automatically give you your right to vote. They automatically give you full expungement to seal your background so you can get housing and you can get a job. What we're seeing is housing. I mean, housing was an issue a couple of years ago, but now with inflation and now with the unstable housing market and no regulation to regulate rent, I mean, we've seen so many crazy things happen in the housing market just for regular people. So imagine the extra layer of a background issue, what that can look like. Can you talk about that? And I think you alluded to a little bit more earlier in the show about, okay, I'm released, but no one prepared me about where I go from here, because I have a felony. Even though I completed my sentence, it's not as easy to just walk away from the prison system when you have a felony. You're still being tagged for something years ago. Can you talk about what that experience was like?
Sure, and I'd actually like to take it back to about 6 months prior to release.
Okay.
Because at that point, as policy dictates, the Department of Corrections is supposed to take an inmate that is going to be released within the next 6 to 18 months and start taking them through a pre-release course, which is to teach them all of those things and to take them through the process of getting your ID back, getting your driver's license back, getting your Social Security card. And all of these things are supposed to be able to be done prior to your release, so that when you arrive at the parole board's office, your documentation is going to be there.
Yes.
But if that is not done, you are already months and months behind the day you step out of prison.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if and going back to what you had said about the rehabilitation and the corrections and what are you correcting, here's the thing: if the majority of the population has never been habilitated, how are you going to rehabilitate them?
Right. Right.
And if the system does not offer a holistic, more vocational viewpoint toward training people for a future, rather than just warehousing them, then there's not going to be any change, and the numbers are still going to be great.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and you're certainly right, and the struggle is certainly real. You know, once you get out of prison, and I said it before, and I said all the time, even at our Fresh Start event, it's like you have a life sentence. Is that you're
Yeah.
still paying for it, and it's always a struggle. You know, and again, I appreciate the marijuana expungement, but you know, I'm a big believer, and that's what I want our organization to push. Not just dealing with the Fresh Start event, but you know, calling people on the carpet, our legislators, our policymakers, and creating and legislating a new law that give nonviolent offenders full expungement or something where they can work on some type of way that they can work and clear up their background as some kind of starting process. So you're exactly right. I'm running out a little bit of time, but I wanted to ask you one more last point. Yeah, go ahead.
Could I touch on the housing issue real quickly?
Yeah.
The housing issue in Tucson is very, very difficult for an ex-offender to find someplace to live, especially in an apartment complex, because part of the contract you have to admit to your crime and actually tell them what it is. And I will tell you right now, at this point in Tucson, Arizona, there are 130 registered sex offenders that are registered homeless because there are no places for them to live.
Yes. Yes.
And ultimately, do we want to know where they live, or would we rather have them homeless and not know where they are?
Yeah, we certainly most definitely want to know where they live. Yeah, go ahead.
The system is failing on both ends because the Department of Corrections is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, and this system out here in the parole board they have no information about resources and housing or anything for an individual getting out.
Yeah.
And it's up to the individuals to put together packets of jobs that will be parole friendly, felony friendly, and that shouldn't be. We should value them just as much as any other citizen, and it's because we didn't value them to begin with. That's why they're in there. Right.
So,
and that's just a
go ahead.
Thing. So,
okay,
go ahead.
Yeah, just gonna say. So, in our final remarks, can you share your experience about Fresh Start and why we are doing and the importance of why we need to have starts?
I was really hoping you would ask that because I get immediately emotional about this because I was there at the community center all day and moving throughout and seeing the people taking advantage of the resources and going and seeing the judges and moving throughout. But one of the most moving things for me was we had opportunity to watch people walk into the community center, and they were not at their best. And we had two of the most lovely angels you would ever want to meet cutting hair in the center floor. And there were men and women that would sit down there and they would begin to get a haircut. Their shoulders were droopy and their head was down. And you know what? By the end of that haircut with those ladies praying with them and talking to them, they were sitting a little more upright. And then they would get up from that location and they would walk over to a place where they could get clothes, nice clothes to put on that they could just walk a little while down, a few steps down the hallway, and they could do a video interview so they could get a job. And during this process, you saw somebody who was looking down at the floor when they walked into the room. they started walking down that hallway with their shoulders back and their chin up to go do a video, which would change their future. And that's what Fresh Start is. That's what Fresh Start is. That these resources, bro, I sat in prison for over 28 plus years, and the joy for me was sitting in that first meeting where there were people who cared about people in prison.
Yeah.
There were people in the Pima County Reentry Coalition who are part of the correction system who care about people in prison. And that's what Fresh Start is, bro. It instills in an individual that these people came out here today because I am valued. They valued me to come out here today to offer their resource to me. Bro, there's nothing better than that for somebody coming out of prison, that somebody is willing to sacrifice their time for them.
Well, awesome, man. That's just totally awesome. And again, we appreciate you and appreciate what you contributed to Fresh Start last year. And we thank you for all what you're doing for the city, what you're doing for Tucson. We know that you are impacting lives and touching lives. Again, Tom, I want to thank you for coming on to the Fresh Start show and telling your story and being transparent about the struggles and things of that nature. But the bigger part is you can rebound. It's not the easiest, but you can bounce back. So we out of time. So I just wanted to thank you for your time and, continue to keep doing what you're doing, man. And we're going to work together on this next Fresh Start coming up.
Amen, brother. God bless.
All right. You take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. So again, we're excited testimony from Brother Tom. Just an extraordinary individual, and we're just so thankful for all we have done. Listen, we want to just give you some updates on Fresh Start. Again, we're having another Fresh Start event, a Fresh Start Expo. It will be this year in October. Saturday, October 22nd, there will be the Fresh Start Expo. That is the one-stop shop in reentry. We invite the city courts, the justice courts, juvenile courts, superior courts. We have the county attorney, city attorney, and public defender's office. We have different vendors, behavioral health. We will be offering another job fair for people who have felony backgrounds. Again, that is going to be Saturday, October 22nd. We're starting early. We tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your siblings, tell people in the community. I believe all of us, either you've been in prison or we know someone who have been formerly incarcerated and they are still struggling to get on their feet. Listen, Fresh Start is coming later this fall. Mark your calendars, Saturday, October 22nd. From 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., we will be at the Tucson Convention Center. So join us, send people down. We will be offering free child care. We'll also be helping people get their haircuts. We help people get their hair done. We will have Second Chance at the table that's going to help us to do the job fair for felons. Listen, you don't want to miss it. That is coming up. We also have extra events coming up in this month. The IMA CAT Town Hall meeting will be on April 18th at 6 p.m. It'll be 100% virtual. So join us on Facebook. We will have the education domain being in charge for the IMA for April 18th. Also, the Urban League is going to be having a fundraiser at Top Golf, and so Top Golf. So go with us on April 24th on Sunday, starting at 1:30. So join us. It's a fundraiser. So when you get out of church and you don't have anything to do on Sunday, come join us with the Urban League fundraiser. So listen, we're looking to have a great time. If you're enjoying the show and you need resources, please email us at info@freshstartint.com. If you want to email me, please email me at info@freshstartint.com. We're looking forward to hear from you. Also, if you want to give us a call at area code 520-595-8885. And so give us a call. Let us know if you have someone that needs some resources. Again, we really enjoyed you. Thank you for your time. This is Damon Holt with Fresh Start Show. We'll see you next Saturday. Take care. God bless.